your bottle there. If that's the case with your wine, then you want to decant it so that you get the clear wine and not the chewy, gunky stuff on the bottom. But that's not really what we're talking about here. So we're talking about opening up a wine by giving it some air, by giving it some oxygen, and really sort of moving quickly through the aging process. And I think this comes back to what you were just saying about, do we miss some of the pleasant steps along the way? So if we're talking about, well, the point of doing this is to get from point A to point C without having to go through point B, then I think that this is something that could and should maybe be looked at. But if it's a wine that doesn't really necessarily need the decanting in order to really taste like a better wine in the right here and now, then I agree with you. You sort of miss those subtle changes that might happen in your glass over the course of an hour or two of working through that bottle.
You said it perfect, though. It speeds up that waiting for the aging process to happen. It's a way, they say, to speed that up. And the article that brought it to our attention, it said, here's why you want to put your wine in a blender, which is hyper decanting. But it had an interesting background to it, Kim. I never knew that the process was created by Nathan Myhrvold. Is that how you say his name? Myhrvold?
I'm not sure.
He was an author who did an article in Modern Cuisine back in 2013.
Yeah, I did not know this either.
He noted that less than 1 minute in the blender with your wine equals 1 hour of decanting in time. And I think in the past, we also had some other gadgets we saw that you could set things where it was like a hot plate type of, not a hot plate, but a stirrer.
Yeah, it was like a little motorized thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and you'd put it on, you'd set how long you want to age it for by stirring it. So like you said, this process supposedly softens the tannins, makes it a little smoother flavor, and they recommend putting wine in till it froths up and then let it rest to do it. So we said, let's do it. What did you first pick for a wine, Kim?
Okay, so I had a very nice Australian Shiraz that I decided to use for my wine. I didn't want anything that was too subtle, that I maybe wouldn't be able to pick out the differences if there wasn't much of a difference between my blended wine and I can't even use the word blended.
Good evening. Time being approximately 7 o'clock, 7:08. I call the April 12th, 2023 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. The phone number is 1-929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID, which is 869-1486-3436. Once again, the Zoom ID is 869-1486-3436, and you must hit the pound sign. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Another announcement from the chair, Councilor Pellegrini is a little under the weather and will be unable to attend tonight's meeting, as well as not able to come in via Zoom. Next item on the agenda, citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers who would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward, just state your name and address, please.
Hello, I'm David Rittenhouse, 24 Hunters Run, and I'd like to thank the town of Franklin for this wonderful shirt that I got picking up trash last year on Earth Day at the Beaver Pond Center, and Kobe joined me for that. So this Earth Day is April 22nd, Saturday, and there'll be a lot of good activities. So I've been in town for over 20 years. I'm a climate activist and member of the 350 Mass Greater Franklin Node. Our meetings are open to the public and announced via the Franklin Matters newsletter. Tonight I ask the town councilors to consider adding the cost of maintaining the Energize Franklin website to the 2024 budget. This has been announced a couple of times on the Franklin Matters newsletter. You may recall I made citizens' comments at a meeting about a year ago proposing the town take more climate actions. Since then, did some research, and this Mass Energize is the parent company, and now we have our own town's website. Be part of the Mass Energize program involves raising money to be accepted into the program, getting trained on how to build a website, and creating and fleshing it out. We now call it Energize Franklin. The initial cost of the website was $2,000, and since November 2022, we've raised almost all of it. It took 6 months for us to raise enough money to begin the process. Fortunately, the nonprofit organization was generous to let us go ahead with the training and computer help without the full payment at the time. We are now beginning to do outreach to make Energize Franklin website an effective climate action tool for residents and businesses. In fact, as part of our launch on Earth Day weekend, we will have booths both Saturday at the Environmental Extravaganza on the Town Common from 11 to 2. This is the first year for that. And Sunday, there's another event at the Del Carte Conservation Area. We'll be there from 9 to 11. So what does the Energize Franklin website offer? Take a look at it. It offers a variety of individual actions that residents and businesses can take to reduce their personal carbon emissions. Wide-ranging actions include growing a vegetable garden, installing solar panels, buying electric cars, electrifying your home for heating, cooling, cooking, among other things. It also offers informative testimonials of personal experiences from friends and neighbors who live down the street to create enthusiasm and trust. People are happy to share what they've done. The more who participate, the more useful this website will become to normalize climate action on an individual level and building community around it. The initial website setup cost was $2,000. Subsequent years will cost $950 for Energize Franklin maintenance. Future website funding through the town budget would allow more outreach to encourage Franklin residents and businesses to participate. It's run by a team of dedicated volunteers. So in closing, please consider including the $950 expense in the 2024 Franklin budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please just come forward, name and address, please.
Thank you. Ruthann O'Sullivan, 175 Oak Street, Franklin. I know you've all heard from me and heard from the One Franklin group about our desire to have the town develop a proposal that would propose an override to be able to have the citizens vote on. I talked to a lot of people who believe that overrides are too difficult to get done. I think that, I actually printed this out. It was part of the presentation that Superintendent Jagir gave to the school committee, and I have copies for everybody because I know the presentation's kind of lengthy, and as much as it's gone around, you know, you guys have your hands in every single department. You can't be, you know, privy to every single granular detail of everything, but I'm going to just read some things about the COVID negative impacts on Franklin students and their gaps in knowledge, and then their mental health concerns. Middle school students' mental health concerns increased considerably to 2018 to 2021. Reports of depressive symptoms increased from 12% to 21%, and self-injury increased from 9% to 15%. Middle school students' reports of seriously considering suicide increased from 13% to 20%, and suicide attempts increased from 3% to 6%. There's a lot more on here about just gaps in learning. So I hear a lot about how there's a decline in enrollment, and that, you know, we can't justify any sort of increase to a budget when there's a decline in enrollment. But I just want to, you know, point out that a class may have 25, 26 students. It could go down to 21 students, and it doesn't really change the budget all that much. It does negatively impact the budget because you lose that per pupil, you know, expenditure from the state, but you don't get to, you know, get rid of a classroom, or, you know, infrastructure. We've done that, you know, we've tried to cut costs there, and it's not really cutting it. And I think that, you know, we talk a lot about the fact that the teachers did get a larger raise than other departments, and I know that, you know, is causing stress. I know it's going to be a difficult May for everybody, and I know there's going to be cuts. And I know that last night at the school committee meeting, one of the conversations that they had was around, where do those cuts get documented? How does the public become aware of what those cuts are? And the answer was there's no real system for that. I believe that Miriam actually said we've never really been asked before to provide this type of information. And I think that people are underestimating what the community is willing to do to get an override passed. I think that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last override we had in town was 2007. And it's been, you know, quite a bit of time. And, you know, with inflation and the pandemic and these variables, I just, you know, hope that we could maybe get that on the agenda for some discussion so we don't go through this next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is that a hand up?
Yep, Ali Rayum. Ali.
Please, Ally, just identify yourself, name and address, please.
Ali Rayum, and wonderful pronunciation of my last name. Very impressed over there.
I never knew that.
47 Summer Street. It's good to see you all. Yeah, simple request that ideally before the farmers market and event season begins for this year, for parking lines to be added, particularly on High Street along the Common, so that cars can park more efficiently without like one car taking up what could be 2 spaces and whatnot. So simple request for parking lines along the Common on High Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Ally. Is there anyone else out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I'm not seeing anyone. Jamie, you see anyone?
Nobody else.
Okay. Moving on. We have no minutes for approval this evening, no proclamations and recognitions. We do have appointments. The Police Station Building Committee. Clerk will read the appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment for the Police Station Building Committee. From the Franklin Town Council, Thomas Mercer, 14 Mercer Lane, Brian Chandler, 58 Highwood Drive, Robert DeLorco of 7 Wilson Road, the Chief of Police, Thomas Lynch at 911 Panther Way, Town Administrator, Jimmy Helen of 355 East Central Street, the Director of Public Facilities, Michael D'Angelo of 355 East Central Street, the Executive Director of the Metacomet Emergency Communication Center Regional Dispatch, Gary Primo of 14 Sharon Ave, Norfolk, Mass. The members of the Franklin Police Department, 1 female, 1 male, Adressa Rosa of 911 Panther Way, James West, 911 Panther Way, and 2 citizens at large, Kelsey Alexander of 213 King Street, and David Pellegri of 4 Musket Way. This is a motion, Mr. Chairman, to ratify the appointments of the names listed above by the town administrator to serve as members of the Police Station Building Committee with terms to expire upon substantial completion of the project.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the council, pretty basic. Most of the appointments here obviously are dedicated ones that have specifics of experts that are familiar with this process. Just want to take a quick minute to thank Andressa Rosa, as well as Jimmy West, as stepping up as the members of the department. As you know, we put in 1 male member and 1 female. As you know, we've hired 6 female officers in the last 5 or 6 years, and we need to hear their considerations as we build a police station out, so that they have some dedicated space and locker rooms and restrooms and the whole bit. And also thank Kelsey Alexander and David Pellegri for stepping up to the plate. Both were really excited, and Kelsey's a mother in waiting, and so not only will she fill a void in her expertise as a civil engineer, but also as a lifelong resident to be in educating her new child, and I think brings a nice perspective to the committee about maybe what people are looking for in terms of public safety facilities in the future. So I just want to thank them. They both have a really open mind to this, and so I hope everybody affirms the appointments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council?
You ready for this?
Could be your last one.
He stumped you.
Yeah. I have been through a few, for sure. But yes, the answer to the question is yes. She's right here, I had to say that. But yes, I am for sure. So, okay, then the vote will come on the motion to approve the Police Station Building Committee as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, one and all, and thank you to those that were appointed, and thank you to those that put their names up for consideration. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. And the first public hearing this evening is a license modification, change of officers, directors, LLC managers, change of stock interest, change of manager of Hi-Ho Group, Inc., doing business as the Curry House, located at 418 West Central Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Clerk will read the license modification.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is change of offices for licensed transaction directors, LLC managers, change of stock interest, and change of manager to Hi-Ho Group Incorporated, doing business as the Curry House at 418 West Central Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Hi-Ho Group Incorporated, new business as the Curry House, located at 418 West Central Street, Mass. 02038, is seeking approval for multiple modifications of their Section 12 all alcoholic beverages licenses to include a change of officer, directors, LLC managers, change of stock interest, and change of manager. The new manager will be Naluvi Patel, and all departments have signed off on this application. Mr. Chairman, this is a motion to approve the request of Hi-Ho Group Incorporated, DBA Curry House.
It's not a motion yet. This is-
Oh, it says motion.
I know.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Public hearing, it's a public hearing now.
Thank you.
So I'll declare the public hearing
And then we'll do the
open,
motion.
and then we'll go back to the motion. But I wanted the license transaction read so that people understood what the public hearing is all about.
So, I'll continue that later.
Yes, so the public hearing is declared open. I see
Good
Attorney
evening, Mr.
Canetta.
Chairman, members of the council. My name is Richard Cornetta. I'm the attorney representing the Jai-Ho Group, Inc. And with me this evening, I'd like to introduce is Manis Sahu, and he is the new owner, or will be the new owner, pending your approval of the Curry House. And also, I'd like to introduce Nilu Patel, who will be the named manager, and she's also the chairman of the board of directors of the Jai-Ho Group. And we have nothing further to add, other than the materials we've provided. If the board has any, or the council has any questions, we're happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Canetta. Okay, since this is a public hearing, I will go to the public first. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on this license transaction? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on this license modification? Okay, I'll go to the council. Is there any councilors that have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will there be any changes to the day-to-day operations that many of us know and have come to love about the Curry House?
No, they do not anticipate any changes. In fact, these folks may look familiar to you because they have been participants with the operations of the restaurant for many years. And so this is just a changing of the official changing of the guard, but nothing will.
We're going to keep that lunch buffet, I hope?
Yes.
Okay.
That's still in town.
It will be the same.
Okay. All right, that's good to hear. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Then it's okay. Comes down to the buffet.
You got one vote so far. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and I'm going to move to license transactions so that these people don't have to stay here all evening. So we will move to license transactions and the license modification and change of officers. Now the clerk can read the
remainder.
motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a motion to approve the request by Jai-Ho Group Incorporated doing business as a Curry House for a change of officers, directors, LLC managers, and a change of stock interest in a change of manager to Nilu V. Patel.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much,
Congratulations.
and good luck. Okay. Moving on, I will declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 23-889, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, Use Regulation Schedule, Residential Uses. I'll declare the public hearing open. Jamie, would you like to?
Sure. So through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be as brief as possible. The folks watching at home, if they go to franklinma.gov, go to tonight's calendar, there's a packet there. Everybody can read all the memos. They're very long because zoning is obviously very complicated. But in short, tonight is the first reading after the public hearing regarding what is commonly known, I think, to most people as the town's proposed inclusionary zoning bylaw. And there's multiple goals in trying to work on this. As my memo states, and I think as Councilor Hamlin will probably speak to in a moment as the EDC chair, this inclusionary zoning package did go through the Economic Development Plus Committee, steering committee from the Franklin for All group. Tremendous amount of hard work was put into this by the committee members as well as the staff. It was approved unanimously by the steering committee, 7-0. The planning board held a public hearing about a month ago. It was approved by the planning board, and they're recommending unanimously to the council to approve this. What in essence does this do? Helps us comply with the new MBTA communities policy at the Economic Development Office at the state. It also makes, it basically brings density down from 1 unit per 1,000 acres to 15 units per acre, which is actually a de-densification policy, but also complies with the bare minimum of MBTA communities, and essentially makes, if you will, 2 minor changes. One, right now, all housing has to go through a special permit process. This now allows a builder to get 15 units by right. That is a substantial change that people may sound like bureaucracy, but it is a substantial change. And then the second piece is, for the first time in the town's history, there'll be a new bylaw put on the books that mandates that any developments of 10 units or greater requires 1 unit of those 10 to be legally deeded as affordable unit. And so again, in our efforts here in the community to try to increase housing production, both the by right allows that to go a little faster through the process and certainly at a more affordable level for developers. But in trade for that, if you will, one of those units needs to be deeded affordable. I want to make clear to the public one last point. The only proven, the 100% only proven method to actually create affordable housing that is not susceptible to market rate increases that we all are aware of. Nobody likes the rent. We've said it a million times, the rent is too damn high. The only guaranteed way is to make sure that that unit is deeded affordable in perpetuity. And so the changes here are substantial, but at the same time, they're, I hope, easy for everybody to understand. And the third thing is there is new language put in here in about a 6-page bylaw, I won't go through it, on defining out inclusionary zoning. That's why Brian's here. So if anybody has any questions about all that, Brian and the town attorney can speak to that. And again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure some other members of the council probably want to speak on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Where this is a public hearing, I do need to go to the public first. So I will go to the public. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 23-889? Seeing no one, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on zoning bylaw amendment 23-889? Okay, seeing none, I will go to the council, and I will begin with the EDC Chair, Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a whole presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to show everybody, but instead, I figured I'd let Brian deal with all the details. Jamie said a little bit about it. But the last time we talked about this, I felt like we needed to remind people why we were doing this. So that's what I'm going to focus my comments on. And also, you know, we spent 16 months in the Franklin for All process with the steering committee that incorporated people from the planning board and the zoning board and the economic development subcommittee. And we spent a lot of time going through all this. And we came up with, I think, is one of the best solutions to these problems that we have. But I could go on forever and talk about it. I'm not gonna, because Glenn's gonna set his timer. So, all right, so I thought we would talk, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about why we're doing this, because people are always like, why are we doing this? So I wanna remind everyone. In 2019, the MAPC Economic and Housing Study was done. The results were more housing is needed in Franklin. And of course, Franklin is not alone. All over Massachusetts, people, as Councilor Sheridan says, people just need places to live. That is why we're doing this. We have a state-approved housing production plan, that includes adding an inclusionary zoning bylaw. And the answer to the recent questions about why certain areas were allowed to develop without any affordable housing units is because we did not have an inclusionary zoning bylaw at that time. And we still don't until we vote this in. The Franklin Housing Authority has recently announced that there are 12,000 people on the waiting list for affordable housing in Franklin. 12,000 people. That is why we're doing this. Why comply with the MBTA community regulations? Not only to allow for more housing, but we can continue to apply and receive Mass Work grants. What does that mean? Here's some numbers. $3.2 million for the Grove Street intersection work, $3.57 million for the Franklin Ridge affordable housing for seniors, $500,000 for $500,000, thank you, for the DPW pumping station grants. That's $7 million in 4 years that we have got because of the Mass Work grants. We need to comply with the MBTA community regulations. Because of the action that we've taken in the Franklin for All Steering Committee, Franklin's action plan is in compliance and has been approved by the state. So that is awesome. Thank you, Brian, for all the work. Okay, why did we spend 16 months in the Franklin for All process? To collect ideas from residents, business owners, landowners, and developers, and analyze and debate the best solution for creating and increasing potential new growth where there's already infrastructure, so we do not add a burden onto the DPW's budget. We want to make sure that we allow for what people want to see. People want to see 2 and 3 family buildings. They want buildings like the one at Birchwood Bakery is in. That has a density of up to 20 units per acre. People want a walkable downtown, safe and comfortable. To do that, we need to incrementally add to the density without allowing for uncontrolled growth. We need to change our zoning bylaws so some of the buildings in the streetscapes that we love, that define Franklin for us, can be rebuilt, or more of that can be built, which we can't do right now with these zoning bylaws, and that is why we've done all this work. And my last reason is probably one of the hugest reasons why, because some of the things one of the most important thing that the council does is that we're obligated to make sure we can meet our budget demand. We as a council have approved purchases of open space, which is wicked awesome, right? But at the same time, we have denied new growth potential in those 200 acres. So that means that we have to allow that to happen somewhere else because we need new growth in our budget. Oh, I'm getting all excited about it. Right now, so it's a seesaw, right? It's like Jamie's like going, shh, cut it off.
No, I'm saying I love it.
All right, so
this is great.
So it's a seesaw, right? We have like open space, and then we have new growth, and we have to balance these things so we can actually have the things we love here in Franklin. What makes Franklin fantastic and a great place to live in. So at the Glenn's laughing at me, but it's okay, it's all good, because this is how passionate I get about this stuff. At the Joint Budget Subcommittee meeting, Chair Mercer was the chair of that committee, and the town council asked all town boards, commissions, committees to come up with a strategy to help fund the town's budget. And tonight, I say that these zoning additions and changes are part of the Franklin for All Steering Committee strategy. At Monday's legislative forum, there was a question about how can Franklin fully fund everything we want? There's also an additional way. This is the way to allow the new growth and changes that we are proposing tonight. So, if you want to talk about the details, Brian's right over there. I can talk about the details too because I think they're fantastic, what we came up with. And I think my timer is probably going to go off, so I'll stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Well done.
Ta-da!
I do want to give all of the councilors that serve on the EDC committee an opportunity to speak, because to Councilor Hamblin's point, this was 19 months' worth of work.
Was it, I thought it was only 16. See how
Well,
much fun
whatever.
I had?
I believe it was 19 when you go
Okay.
back to
Okay.
the beginning. But anyway, bottom line is, I want to give everybody the opportunity, and I think they have deserved the right to speak.
Absolutely.
So, Councilor Frangillo.
Well, I want to not be duplicative of what's been said, but please know that I echo every word that just came out of Councilor Hamblin's mouth. That was perfectly said as to why we need this, why this was so important, and we really did reach a compromise to get to a place. In order to not be too duplicative, I'm going to add a few thoughts, and I hope that it doesn't come off as too negative, because there's so much good that we are doing. But I do want to make it clear that this alone is not enough to reach all the potential that Councilor Hamblin just spoke to. If we want to right the ship, if you will, and allow for the types of development that benefit Franklin, at the same time that we're slowing down the types of development that have hurt Franklin over the years, we need this and more. It's one thing to say that certain amounts of units can be built, but when all other regulations around the parcel actually make it so that a project could never be built because you're saying it just sort of keeps infringing upon, and then by the time at the end you have one little log cabin in the middle, and that's the only thing that then that doesn't actually help us. So absolutely be excited, support this, let's move forward, but don't think that our job is done. We have a long way to go to get to a better place in our budget, and B, get to a better place in building a vibrant downtown that we all want to enjoy.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Very well said. Councilor Sheridan?
I just want to agree with everything that's been said. I really have much to add. I agree with everything. There's a lot of work,
People need
a lot of
places
debate.
to live.
Yeah.
People need places to live.
That's what
Yeah.
he said.
Your statement.
Absolutely.
People need places to live. That's
People
it.
need,
Okay. Councilor Jones?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Much of what has been said is I
You
completely
can't get any
agree
better
with.
than that.
It is absolutely awesome. No, I can't. I have no intentions of following up with it, but I do want to make one simple statement.
Sorry.
I want to thank everybody that came out and participated. And I
Yeah.
want to thank our chairwoman and the committee for really, it was a task. And we were able to fulfill our task and come to you tonight with this bylaw that hopefully the rest of the town council agrees with. Like anything in life, and I think one of the one word that seemed to have flown across the committee on a regular basis is compromise. Life is a compromise. Not everyone agrees with it. And a lot of people do. A lot of people didn't. No. But ultimately, the committee came to a final decision and came to a conclusion. And tonight, it's before the rest of the council for you guys to discuss and give your own opinions on it, and hopefully approve it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Councilor DeLarco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, no, I want to thank everybody that's coming up. I just got a question about the affordable. So if it's deeded affordable, does that mean it's not going to be 1,800 for a one-bedroom or 2,300 for a two-bedroom?
I believe the state,
I don't want to-
state helps.
So
the state.
it's not low income?
It's not.
No.
Brian Spurn, Director of Planning and Community Development. Regarding affordability, there are state guidelines that identify, it's based on housing and urban development, federal guidelines.
Right, I get that.
So whatever that dollar amount is that the State Department of Housing and Community Development puts out is the dollar amount that an affordable unit is. So if it's 2,300, 1,800, whatever that dollar amount is, the state's telling
I agree with that. I know that it's out of our control.
Right.
Because I don't want
Correct.
to charge anyone $1,800. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
To get anybody to pay that.
Right.
So, but I just was curious, I just wanted a definition
No.
about how that changed,
And-
you know?
And through you, Mr. Chairman, I think what Councilor DeLurco was getting to, which is why, I just want to make sure I was right, is for residents to understand that the rent that goes into this is out of our control. The good news is, though, Councilor DeLurco, is it's not susceptible to the landlord just making the willy-nilly decision. If it's a rental, right, if it was for sale, which could happen as well, it could be.
Condo or something.
Right, condo or something. So it is out of our control, but it's also out of the landlord's control, right? Which is also, I think, where a lot of concern is about where the rising prices are going, right?
Okay.
I think so it's a tough thing, right?
Yeah, it's horrible.
But at least it's not gonna go up 30%.
No, I agree. I
know.
think it's a good idea. I just.
Well, I just think for
wanted to
folks at
find
home.
Want to
out.
make sure that people know that it's
So
not
people
our
know,
decision.
Right.
I get that all the time about, oh, you guys did a great job, affordable. These poor kids can't pay. They get paying $1,800.
Yeah.
And I get it. And it's just not us.
Yeah,
It's-
right.
It's the state.
Right.
And it's wrong.
And the feds.
In the
Feds.
Fed.
In the feds.
Feds.
Attorney Sorrell?
So overall, it's predicated on 80% of the median income for the greater Boston area. And then it depends on the size of the family. So an individual, one person's a family unit, that's 40-something, it's close to 50, I think, right now. And then it goes up from there as there's more family members. And then for purposes of setting the rent, it's based on a percentage of that income. So it floats as inflation and other economic factors impact.
No,
Okay.
I get it. I'm just mad at the state, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the feds. I tried to help
People in Boston make
a young lady get fuel assistance. She was making 41 grand. You know what the state told me? She makes $3,000 too much to get fuel assistance. That is insane. But that's another
Yeah.
fight for another day.
We'll take that one.
It is insane.
Counselor Chandler?
Through you to you. Okay, so we're doing the public hearings right now.
Yeah.
And we're just on 23-889,
That's all we're on right now.
and then we'll do 23.
Then we will do that.
All
the
right,
next
and then we'll go to legislation.
one. No, we're going to do this one.
Yep.
Then we'll go to legislation for action for this one.
Right.
Because it's fresh in everybody's mind.
Okay,
And then we'll go to the public hearing on the next one.
all right. I just didn't know when I was
Yeah.
supposed to talk. Okay, I have nothing on this one, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Cormier Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it okay to address a question to the EDC chairwoman, or?
Absolutely, through
Okay.
the chair.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Counselor Hamblin and maybe your committee. First of all, thank you for 19 months of dedicated work, right? That is truly, truly commendable. I'm curious, of the 12,000 people that you say have identified that want to live in Franklin, is that on the affordable housing list, on the low-income housing list, or just some sort of generic list from the state that these folks have said, yeah, we'd love to live in Franklin?
That is on the Franklin Housing Authority list.
So that's
So
low income.
I don't know,
Yeah, so that's.
but maybe.
Jamie might
Okay,
have the
Jamie.
answer.
That would be low income.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it's a regional list, and it can be anybody from anywhere, and it does not necessarily mean they qualify. It just means that they
Has to be
are
on the
there
list.
looking. So when I think we've been through this at some other presentations in the past, and I can't remember when, but when Lisa Audette has come in, she has said, like,
We did it.
use the number 12,000. I just think it's important, because I think a lot of people believe, and not the council necessarily, I think a lot of people believe that's like 12,000 residents. Look,
Yeah,
it's
no.
not
No.
people from Franklin, it's people from all over the place in the state or even beyond that are interested in it. But they, just so we're clear, Council Cormier Ledger, they could apply and put their name on the waiting list in all over the state in various districts. So one individual could apply 8 different places
Correct.
to be on the list. So
Yeah, no,
it's a little bit of a number that doesn't, I've always said it doesn't really make a lot of sense to say that, because it's not really accurate. There's an asterisk, right, as I just spoke.
Hence why I'm bringing it up.
Right.
And I guess so I believe I heard you say that it's on the housing authority list, which
Right.
means it's low income. So it really has nothing to do with affordable housing from the state's formula, because if you're in a low income category, you're not going to qualify for 1,800 or 2,300 rent anyway. So unless we're talking about making low-income housing, which then goes into the mass housing and, you know, certainly more complicated, I just want everyone to understand that we're kind of talking about two different things.
Right.
And I'm not in any way against either one. I just am saying it to clarify, especially for those watching, that we really, people that may consider 1,800 or 2,300 as affordable by state and federal guidelines are not the same group of people that are seeking affordable housing for a variety of reasons.
That, through you, Mr. Chairman, that's accurate. And I've often determined, I've called it more middle-class housing. It's more traditional what we think of. If you think of 80% of 130,000 median income, you're talking about somebody that makes about 90 grand a year. I mean, that today is middle-class housing. I think what Councilor DeLorca was talking about a moment ago was different.
Yeah.
And so I wish the state would just call things middle-class housing. I think that makes a lot more sense to people than some of the other terms they use, but
Workforce housing.
we're going to count on Lieutenant Governor Driscoll fixing this.
She's in Franklin.
She's in Franklin tonight, and hopefully she can, with the new housing secretary, can help clean some of this up.
One of
Thank
the,
you.
can I just, no.
One second. You still have the floor.
No, Councilor Hamblin, did you want to comment on my question?
Yes, so I think one of the things is that the more housing we have, you know, it's like a supply and demand thing. So the fact that there are people that are waiting for housing, I feel like if we try to categorize all these people, it's just like these people need houses and places to live. And the more we have, the lower maybe some of the costs will go. Somebody will move somewhere else and open up other spaces. And so that's what this is all about. It's not just about a number. It's about taking care of the people in our community.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Cormier-Ledger?
My only final point to make was that someone brought up putting a deed restriction on a single family or a condo is very different than a deed restriction on an apartment. So people need to understand that deed restricted homes then go to the lottery system that's managed at Town Hall. We have one on Palomino right now that just came up, but it's a different process than rentals go through. And there is a significant need for people to be able to have those deed-restricted single-family homes. We've absolutely seen that in every possible report out there, that is what a lot of people want. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Did you have a follow-up for Councilor DeLarco, Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, I appreciate it. The biggest one was just defining, it's 80% of area median income of the metropolitan statistical area,
Okay.
just letting that be known. I would, the small addition I would add is, we are allowed to say, you know, the 80% is what counts us to the subsidized housing index and counts us. We are still plenty allowed to say all new developments need to have X amount at 40% and X amount at 60%. And, you know, that isn't what is in front of you today, but I'm certainly all ears if we want to start taking that up in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 23-889 closed. And I will move to legislation for action, 9A, zoning bylaw amendment 23-889, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, Use Regulation Schedule, Residential Uses, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first reading. Town of Franklin zoning bylaw amendment 23-889, formerly 22-889. A zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town of Code, Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6. Use regulation schedule residential uses. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions and/or deletions to subsection 185, attachment 7, part 6, use regulation schedule, residential uses, multifamily, or apartment. And as part of the use schedule, you can note that under principal uses, under part 6 of use regulation schedule, there are changes under multifamily and apartments with 4 or more family units, changes to B with three housing units, and then down in the notes, there's changes to note number 1. They've strucken out subsection 18538 and inserted per subsection 18538 in residential 7, just per subsection 18550 on note number 3. Not more than 1 dwelling unit per 1,000 has been changed to 2,250 square feet of lot area may be permitted with an additional line that states additional dwelling units may be allowed by special permit from the planning board. Note number 4 has been stricken completely. A new note number 4 has been added that states that all multifamily developments with 10 or more housing units are required to address the affordable housing requirements that are listed in subsection 18551. No other changes to the list, sir.
Foregoing.
Hold on. I know. I'm turning the page. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5. Move to a first.
Move bylaw amendment 23-889 to the second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 23-889 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will now go back and open our last public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 23-890, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Section 51. And Jamie, do you want to do a lead-in before I go to the public?
Just really quickly, I'd like actually, so this is really quickly, this is the actual bylaw language, which sets out the parameters of inclusionary zoning. I just want to mention and give a shout out to both Nancy Danello and George Danello, who just clarified for us, out of those 12,000, 350 are actually current Franklin residents. I did not know that.
Thank you, George.
So thank you, George and Nancy, for watching. I know they do all the time. I just thought that was a really important number to throw out there. 350 of those 12,000 are from currently Franklin
Living in
residents.
Franklin.
Living in Franklin. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, since this is a public hearing, I will go to the public. So is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on zoning bylaw amendment 23-890? Seeing no one, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on zoning bylaw amendment 23-890? I don't see anybody, so I am going to go to the council, and once again, I will go to the EDC chair, and then I will go to the EDC committee members, and then to the rest of the council. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really did not prepare much for this section. This is the bylaw that created all the other changes that we have. We don't have one anymore. We don't have one yet. And I think it would have, this is going to help us stay above the 10% limit that we need for the state, in our SSHI. And so it's really an important tool for us so that we have more control over what happens. We can do friendly 40s and 40Bs, and we have more affordable housing. So it's important for the town, it's important for the people in the town, and I think if we had already had this before, these big places that people get concerned about would have affordable units in them already. So it's a long time coming. I think most communities around us have an inclusionary zoning bylaw already on the books, and it's very well written. We spent a lot of time talking about it, and Brian and Amy did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Is there any other EDC people that would like to speak on this bylaw? Is there any other councilors that would like to speak on zoning bylaw amendment 23-890? Okay, seeing no other discussion, I will close the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 23-890, and I will move to legislation for action item 9B, zoning bylaw amendment 23-890, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Section 51, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-890, formerly 22-890, inclusionary zoning.
Motion to waive the reading?
Second. Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move bylaw amendment 23-890 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 23-890 to a second reading. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. That takes care of all of our public hearings and
No.
some of our No, that's all of our public hearings. And a couple of our legislation for action, but we will go back to that after we go through presentations and discussions. They've been sitting here very patiently. So we have a presentation from Metacomet Public Health Alliance, and Kathleen Liberty, our health director.
Hello.
Please, welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody. Glad to be here. So I do believe my Board of Health Chair is in Zoom land, so I'd like to welcome Bridget Sweet, and also my staff, which I will introduce in a few minutes. So Jamie asked me to come here just to kind of explain and go over what the Metacomet Public Health Alliance is all about, which I'm happy to do. Okay, so in the spring of 2021, the town of Norfolk, Rentham, and Franklin, we came together and regionalized. Okay, we were able to do this because there was a DPH, or Department of Public Health, offered us a shared service agreement. And so Jamie and I, at long discussion, we decided that this would be good for our community as well. And the town of Rentham actually hosts this particular grant. And we feel that definitely this initiative expands on public health services for our town as well as Norfolk and Rentham. And so, and if you'd like to go on to the Metacomet Public Health Alliance website, we have some really great information there. I did want to bring that up today. So I'd like to introduce you to some of our new members of the Metacomet Public Health Alliance. I will just explain my role, and our health agent, Ginny McNeil's role, is I'm considered the shared coordinator and oversee the public health nurse, regional health agent, and the epidemiologist. I oversee what they're doing and, give them projects and things like that. And Ginny also helps in that process as well. But I'd like you to all meet Alicia Sullivan. She's our public health nurse. Alicia's back there. John Robertson is our regional health agent. John. And Cassia Monterio is our regional epidemiologist. Cassia. And you all know Ginny, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do.
I didn't make you stand up, so.
Welcome.
Make everybody stand.
Yeah.
Now they're on TV, make them.
So I'll go through what each one of the staff do, and I will say that the public health nursing services has just been wonderful for the town of Franklin. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I think that you can understand that our mission is to protect the public's health, right? Promote health equity, advance our public health. And we do that in two ways. Alicia works over at the senior center, and she does a lot of her work alone, but she also partners with the Rentham Public Health nurses as well. And so alone, Alicia does a lot of nursing services here in the town of Franklin, such as blood pressure monitoring at the Housing Authority, glucose monitoring at the Housing Authority, a lot of health education and resources. She does stop the bleed training, no hands CPR, and flu clinics and vaccinations. So we all heard of a thing called the pandemic, right? And so it's,
Oh, no.
you know, kind of.
Did you is the question.
Right? So with Alicia's help and the Rentham nurses' help, during the COVID vaccines, we were able to vaccinate 970 people over several clinics. That's adults. We vaccinated approximately 570 children, ages 5 to 11. And when I tell you Ben Franklin was the best thing we ever had at that clinic, because that was an emotional how many clinics? 4 clinics, I think we did. And these children were very brave, but very nervous at the same time. That was quite the feat, I have to say, and I have to thank all the public health nurses for doing such an amazing job. In our flu clinic too, they also join us, the Rentham nurses join us, and we vaccinated approximately 166 people in Franklin. And so this is our nursing services, and again, she does a lot more than just what I've listed. We also have to look at communicable diseases and other important public health nurse services. So then I'm going to move on to our inspectional services. I think, as you all know, we're kind of well known for doing our food inspections, right? But there's a lot more to that. And we have John, who is our inspectional services person. He's our regional health agent, and he does a variety of inspections. He enforces the state sanitary code, also food establishments. We do, foodborne illness inspections, housing nuisance inspections. And actually, John, from October 21st to January 22nd, he conducted a total of 293 inspections that consist of food, nuisance, and housing. You wouldn't think there's such a need in the town, but at times there are. And this is just a little bit of what we do, right? So I thank John very much for joining us, and he's been a pivotal part of our health department and getting a lot of stuff done, so. Then we have Cassia, and she's our epidemiologist. And she has just been wonderful in researching and collecting data. And I'll show you a little bit more what she does, but we work a lot in the GIS sites, and does everyone know what GIS is? And so she collects data about our community, and then she actually, I'll show you next, she'll put it into a GIS site with the help of our GIS specialist. So first, we, of course, remember COVID, right? So COVID-19 dashboard was the first thing that she did. I don't think this is a GIS site, though, is it? No, so I'll get to that in a minute. But this actually was very relative at the time when we were going through the pandemic. I do believe she's still updating it, so we still get information about COVID-19, about the deaths, and vaccination rates and things like that. It can be very helpful in certain circumstances. But this particular healthcare resource and service website that Cassia and our GIS specialist did is really amazing. So this particular healthcare resource is for Franklin, Norfolk, and Rentham. And so when you go on our website, the health department website, you'll find this right on the middle of the page. It's very interactive. So if you're interested in where is there a dentist in Franklin, Norfolk, or Rentham, you would just click on the top, there's a top tab. It will bring you to these 3 towns that you can see on the map. And then as you hover over the little pinpoints there, it'll give you the name of the dentist office, the address, the website, the phone number. And so this is for multiple different types of specialists that she did. And it's a really amazing interactive website, so definitely check that out. And then she took it one step further. she collected health outcomes, and she created this dashboard. So you could go anywhere in Franklin, Rentham, and Norfolk. You want to see how many people have asthma, the percentage of people that have asthma, and you can actually find this information. Another interactive map that we really wanted to put out there for the communities. So if you get a chance, get to my website over in the health department and take a look at these interactive dashboards. I think it's kind of on the cutting edge for doing this for 3 towns. I think it was an amazing amount of work. I just want to emphasize that, as you can probably tell. What goes on behind something like this is really great. I think I want to just give you some highlights too, just a little bit. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe I'm done. Hold on, let me just see. Oh, okay, and yeah, and here was the best thing that we all did this year, the Franklin Health Fair. So the Rentham nurses, our public health nurse, Cassia, they put together this health fair that was held at the Franklin Public Library, and actually 480 people came through. We had over 30 vendors, unbelievable activities, with free local produce from Night Owl, and the food truck, and the police, the fire department was there. It was just a wonderful occasion, and they're also going to be putting on a spring health fair as well. So I just want to commend my staff for just being wonderful and doing so much work for our town and for the other towns as well. And that's all in the spirit of public health. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, Kathleen, that's okay. Take the, yeah.
She could do it.
Yeah, I'm sure she could. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that great presentation, and thank you to your team. I happen to know that the numbers are alarmingly high for juvenile diabetes and for youth obesity and for asthma in urban areas, like in the city of Boston and many other Massachusetts urban areas. How are we doing here in particular with those 3 things that seem to be plaguing a lot of our young people these days?
Well, through the chair, if I could just call on Alicia, do we deal with any childhood asthma issues in the town?
I would have to go and look on the dashboard to be able to
Okay.
see that.
Too bad I didn't have it up.
I was just curious.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have talked to school nurses.
Please, could you
Alicia,
just
yeah.
come forward to the
Sorry.
microphone, please? Thank you.
I have talked with school nurses a lot, but it was mostly during COVID that they would call for me for help, resources, especially guidance, because things were changing around the time that I came. So at this point, we're moving away from COVID and kind of getting back into things. A lot of our educational things so far, just because I'm at the senior center, have been focused more probably with elderly people. We've done heart disease, nutritional, diabetes is a big one. I come from a hospital acute care setting, and diabetes teaching was critical, and a lot of people don't have meters, don't know what they're doing. I would spend an hour for like discharge training on people with diabetes. So we do focus on that a lot. I know the school nurses are amazing, and hopefully, you know, if they ever needed anything, we could get more into that. Some of the programs we've focused on more, we're getting big into hands-only CPR to teach people how to save a life with CPR. Stop the bleed training is another one, and we've done the heart disease, a lot of nutrition talks, because that's something that a lot of the people at the senior center were interested in. But I'd have to look at that dashboard to give you numbers, especially with children.
Yeah, we can get back to you on that.
But you're right about, I went to school up in Springfield, so one of the big things was especially asthma in the inner cities. So I do agree with you on that.
Thank you.
It would just be helpful to have the info to, I guess, for some additional talking points about why people love living in Franklin, right?
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's a good idea to look at what our major things are, so we can direct education and public health towards that to reduce those outcomes. So
Yes,
that's why
exactly.
we focus a lot on heart disease, because that's a big one.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Kathleen. Thank you to you and the team back there. I hope I'm not stealing this question from Councilor DeLuca, but I saw you have a free loaner equipment program. How does that, where can people get a hold of that stuff?
Right, through the chair, I'm gonna defer back to the public health nurse about, is that through the senior?
To the senior center, right?
Senior center.
That's through the senior center, yeah. I apologize.
Maybe you should just kind of hang around up
You
there.
can call me at the senior center and I can help you with that. We do mostly things because of the storage issues, especially with larger medical equipment, and we will take a lot of donations. So anything from wheelchairs to walkers, give us a call. It all depends on what gets brought in. But even, you can call, you never know. I had someone actually just call me recently for a hospital bed. We don't have a hospital bed. And then someone called 2 days later looking to get rid of a hospital bed. So we're going to connect them in order, because insurance didn't approve for someone to get a hospital bed. You know, you hear about those things all the time and who can go and afford that. So we will help. It's almost like social services in a way, in case management, and we help kind of bring that together. But that's the beauty of me being at the senior center. I love being there. I love the staff there. So it all works out great because it's all kind of connected.
Thank you.
Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
One last question.
Sure.
This might be for the gentleman in the back. Obviously, you go everywhere, but we have a lot of marijuana facilities now in this town. Are you checking their kitchens for all those edibles and all those things they're making?
I can answer that, actually,
Okay.
yeah, so that's not under our purview for the health department.
Oh, it isn't?
No,
So
no.
they can do whatever?
No.
It's state, Jamie.
Yeah, that's all done by the Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
They have their own inspection system. They have the authority to show up as well. They can just plop in whatever they want.
That's through the Cannabis Control Commission.
Okay, so you have nothing to do with that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler.
Thank you.
Councilor DeLuca.
I still have one of your wheelchairs.
Will you bring it back, please?
I'm getting my knee done in June, so I'm gonna need it, all right? So, no, but thank you for all your team. I know you guys work really hard, and I actually had an issue earlier, about some young lady not having any heat. You guys went right out there and straightened it out and made the landlord put a furnace in, so I appreciate that. That was right on the ball. You guys were right on the ball on that one. So, that has nothing, that's something totally different than COVID and everything else, so I just wanted to throw that out there. You're still taking data for COVID?
We are,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know about 50 people that have COVID that probably haven't called you. So, and I'm one of them. I'm sorry, but.
Yeah, and the numbers could be skewed because of the kids now and things like that, but DPH is still providing weekly information for the local boards of health, so we just feel like it's still important to put out there.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Pauline.
Thank you, Councilor DeLuca. Councilor Sheridan.
Thank you for that update. That was really informative. And I was just curious, how did you pick the 3 towns to be in the group? How did you pick the 3 towns?
I'm sorry.
How did you pick the 3 towns to work
The
together?
Metacomet, the group, how did that group come together?
Oh, okay, well, through the chair. Jamie and I were, well, actually Jamie was approached by the town administrator for the town of Rentham.
Okay.
And they spoke, and then obviously he and I spoke as well. And,
Jamie, do you want to?
Yeah, so.
Through you, the town administrator in Rentham actually lives in Franklin, and actually has, before he became a town administrator, actually came through the health field. And the state was at the time giving out a lot of money to do these regional collaborations. And so, it's, why not? I think you can see some of the effects a year and a half in. And so they reached out to us, and we just kind of put a partnership together quick, and we've been trying to build on it. And obviously, as you can see, the folks have been doing a tremendous job. And, I think at the end of the day, the state's paying for a lot of this. And so it's a great benefit. Really, the state basically says you have to have like a consortium of like a certain amount of population.
Okay.
And so Rentham and Norfolk really need us because we're a big community. We're a large town population. So They basically won't give you the money if you don't have a certain threshold.
Okay.
But obviously, we all work together with those towns anyways on regional dispatch and mutual aid and public safety, and so it all kind of made a lot of sense.
Great, thank you.
I'll set Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, my apologies if I missed this, but how much was the grant fund? Like, I'm assuming it ran out by now, or is it running out?
I think it's under the year and a half, and it was like 900, it was like 300 a year though for.
300,000 a year.
Yeah, so it was 900, almost $1 million total over 3 years,
Over 3
like
years.
approximately. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Sure.
And what are our intentions when that money dries up?
We're hoping it won't.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hoping it's a continuous grant
Yeah.
cycle, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think through Mr. Chairman, I think, you know, the ex-governor and everybody coming out of this, there was obviously a lot of momentum to continue public health services, even on the issues that like Councilor Cormier-Ledger brought up. And, you know, it's like anything, you try to build the foundation up a little higher and hope that local boards of health have made the case to the Commonwealth that this is something that should continue on. I think that's all going to be susceptible up to the subject to appropriation. And I think I probably will end up, I'm guessing Kathy will deal with that question when the time comes. But I think with the work that you see here, and I hope that other regional organizations are doing the same thing, you know, I'm hoping it builds a bigger constituency for like, we really could use these dashboards, we can use these health fairs, we can use a public health nurse on staff. I know that's a little bit of a separate issue because, as you know, there's a statute that requires us to have a public health nurse, but I think if you go to the senior center, I know many of you do, you know, I think folks, just for example, like Alicia, you know, have proven the value of why having a public health nurse down there is really important. I think it gives a tremendous amount of comfort to a lot of people. And also it helps those who are isolated, those who aren't able to get to medical appointments, and on, that they have a resource down there to check and talk to a licensed professional that comes from a hospital setting and look at those things. I hope with the epidemiologist, the data-driven stuff that we've been able to get can help drive some of those educational outputs that Ted was talking about earlier, and many others that are in the community. So it's just kind of a long, you know, we're the turtle in the race in government. We just keep trying to do a little more, and you know, I think we'd all feel a little slighted. I think I speak for the Board of Health, hopefully. I think it'd be pretty rotten if the Commonwealth just in 3 years just went, no, we're all done. You know, I know money's tight up there, but you know, I think have we learned anything in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is speak to our legislators.
that's-
Speak to your friends at the state house.
Yeah.
It's all on you, buddy.
You can say that, I can't.
Yes. Go ahead, Councilor Frangillo.
So did you have something?
Yeah, through the chair, if I could just explain a little bit more about why I don't think this will go away, is because there's 351 towns in the state of Massachusetts, and we all do something different, right? So it depends on the charter, the boards of health, elected, appointed, et cetera. And the idea behind regionalizing is to have a consistent type of inspection program, et cetera. And DPH has also come out with trainings for food and housing hub. So the point behind that is all the new inspectors won't just be kind of rogue. They'll all be being trained in the same manner, and this is something that has never happened before. So that's kind of this mindset, well, I know it's the mindset behind this. So I don't really see the funding going away, but if it does, I think that we'll still all be trained to do things the same way. And that's the most important thing.
That's a good point.
For sure. Councilor Frangillo?
I think that got you. I was trying to, as I was listening, I was trying to figure out whether this was more about saving money through working together or about expanding capacity and services, and it seems to be much more about the latter, and now we just have to hope that that continues to be funded, or continue to advocate that that continues to be funded. That's it for me. I mean, I think you guys are the most underappreciated service that this town offers, so I really appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, to Kathy and her team, thank you so much for being here. I love this update. The dashboard to me is fascinating. I love the maps. I love the data. One of the maps that you have here in your presentation is the cancer rate, and Franklin is lower than the national average. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But just there's so much information there to gather for the whole area. It's just fascinating to me. But thank you, and thank you for your inspectional services, doing everything the same way. That's wonderful. And I noticed there was a pizza truck, food truck or something out in the parking lot the other day when I was here. And I was like, yay, let's go. So
You'll see 2 more tomorrow.
2 more tomorrow, yay! So thank you, all of you, for all the work you do. I did have a shot at the senior center at one time. I got a booster there, and it was so easy. It was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kathy, I love what you and your group do. Hey, we've worked together several times over the years, and everything's pretty much been said. I just want to say thank you to you and your crew. I do agree with what was said earlier. It completely underappreciated the hard work and effort that gets put in by the department, and my God, the inspection system alone is an unbelievable task. I just want to thank your group and all the hard work that gets put into everything, and I know they're right there. Thank you so much, everybody, for what you do. And the seniors are great, aren't they? You learn so much from them.
Yes, we are.
I'll be there. I'll be there someday.
You're not too far behind us.
Oh, gosh, my Lord. Anyways, thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Kathleen, again, I won't repeat what everybody has said, but certainly thank you to you and your staff. And I'm going to take it a step more forward and say, or backward, and say COVID. What your department did during COVID is just, it's mind-boggling to me that you were able to do what you got accomplished during the pandemic. And as long as I'm sitting here, I'm going to continue to thank you for that time period for our community. It was just wonderful. And this dashboard data, I wish everybody in the town was watching this meeting for that one piece of information, that they can go to the Board of Health website and they can find that data. And it's not that hard to do. It's very easy. So again, thank you, and thank you to your staff. And I apologize that you had to wait a while to get brought forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks,
Okay.
I had fun.
Moving forward, legislation for action. We have a few more. The next one is zoning bylaw amendment 23-887, which was formerly 22-887. Zoning map changes from rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2 or single-family residential 3, an area on or near Lincoln Street and Lincolnwood Drive. This is a second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-887, formerly known as 22-887. Zoning map changes from rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2 or single-family residential 3, an area on or near Lincoln Street and Lincolnwood Drive. Zoning bylaw amendment to the Code of the Town of Franklin to Chapter 185, Section 5 zoning map be enacted by the Franklin Town Council. The Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to subsection 185-5 zoning map. Zoning map of the Town of Franklin be amended by changing rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2 in an area containing 35.26 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown on the Town of Franklin's assessor's map. Parcel numbers 243043000, 243-045-000, 243-046-000, 243-053-000, 243-082-000, and a zoning map of the town of Franklin be amended by changing from rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 to single-family residential 3, an area containing 3.02 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown in town of Franklin's assessors map. Parcel numbers 243-047-000, 243-052-000, 243-064-000, 243-065-000, 243-066-000, 243-067-000, 243-068-000. An area to be rezoned is shown on the attached map. Proposed zoning map changes an area on or near Lincoln Street and Lincolnwood Drive. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-887.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through Mr. Chairman, it's the final reading of a lot line cleanup. We've talked about it a lot before. Can't imagine what more questions there'd be.
Understood. Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council?
I was going to say the same thing.
Councilor Henry? Councilor Frangillo?
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Everyone that gets affected by these that we do
They
gets
get notified.
notified.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
before it comes to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just a quick.
Sure, Councilor Chandler.
You know, we're always talking about we need new growth and everything. So this might be through you, Mr. Chairman, to Brian. The commercial, all that's there is Lamberto's and Dacey's? And there can't be any more in this stretch?
Currently, there's a commercial 2 zone that's about 200 feet by 200 feet that was plopped on the map around Dacey's Market.
Yeah.
And so those parcels that touch can be a commercial component. If it actually is, I think it's like 100, it's like 50 feet or 100 feet into the next zone, so they could expand that 200 feet if they really wanted to, if they want to expand their operations there. But if that green is not touching their parcel, no, they would not be able to expand commercial in that area unless there's a rezone or variance by CPA.
Okay. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve zoning bylaw amendment 23-887, formerly 22-887. A 2/3 majority, roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
8, 1 absent, sir.
Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-891. Zoning map changes from rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2 or single-family residential 3, an area on or near Lincoln Street. Second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-891. Zoning map changes from rural residential 2 or single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2 and single-family residential 3 in area on or near Lincoln Street. Zoning bylaw amendment to the Code of Town of Franklin to Chapter 185, Section 5 zoning map. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to subsection 185-5 zoning map. That the zoning map of the Town of Franklin be amended by changing rural residential 2, single-family residential 3 to rural residential 2, an area containing 26.004 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown on the Town of Franklin's assessor's map. Parcel numbers 243-006-000, 243-008-000, 243-011-000, 250-003-000, 250-011-000, 250-015-000, 250-018-000, and the zoning map of the Town of Franklin be amended by changing rural residential 2, single-family residential 3 to single-family residential 3, an area containing 20.057 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown on the Town of Franklin's assessors map. Parcel numbers 243-009-000, sorry, 990, 250-001-000, 250-002-000, 004 000, 250 006 000, 25007 000, 250 008 000, 250 012 000, 250 019 000, 250 0020 000, 250 021 000, 250 022 000, 250 023 000, 250 024 000, 261 19 000, 261 20 000, 261 21 000, 261 22 000, 261 23 000, and 261 024 000. The area to be rezoned in the shown attached map. Proposed zoning maps changes in area on and near Lincoln Street. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-891.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, same as before, final reading of these lot line changes right off of Lincoln Street, right up here on the map.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor
Just a
Hamblin from
little
the
comment.
EDC?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add that this has been a really long project to clean up all these maps, these zoning areas, and Brian has done a wonderful job. And I think he deserves a hand, because I think this was our last one.
For now.
For now. I think this was the last. The last one. The last one that was. No, I'm not gonna give a speech.
This is why we love Brian so much.
Fast response.
This is the last one that's multiple properties, and it takes a lot of time. It's really easy. It may take Glenn a long time, Counselor Jones a long time to read through it, but it takes a much longer time to actually do the work.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so thank you. I just wanted to thank the town staff for this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Get people to laugh.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve zoning bylaw amendment 23-891. Again, a two-thirds majority, roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Angelo.
Yes.
Hamblin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
8, 1 absence.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-894. A zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 3 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, accessory dwelling unit definition. And this is a referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-894, changes to subsection 185-3 definitions. Accessory dwelling unit definition, a zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 3 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council. The chapter 185 of the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended at section 185-3, definitions by adding the following text. Subsection 185-3, definitions. Accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, is a self-contained dwelling unit inclusive of sleeping, cooking, and sanitary facilities incorporated within a lawful principal single-family or two-family dwelling or within a detached building accessory to and on the same lot and in the same ownership as a lawful principal single-family or two-family dwelling use. The owner of record shall live on the property, and the ADU shall maintain two means of egress, either directly from the outside or through an entry hall or corridor shared with the principal dwelling, sufficient to meeting the requirements of the state building code. The ADU shall be no smaller than what is allowed by state building code regulations, but no larger than 900 square feet or 50% of the principal unit, whichever is less, and shall contain no more than 2 bedrooms, and all public utilities shall be shared within the primary residence. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-894 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
So through Mr. Chairman, the next 3 bylaws that are being proposed to move to the planning board all deal with ADUs, okay? And again, I remind people of the story that Councilor Hamlin and Councilor Frangillo and I heard from the city of Salem. They gave up. This group didn't. I'm extremely happy and pleased that we're here. I know tonight the building commissioner couldn't make it, but at the EDC meeting, and I think Councilor Hammond will speak to this, this is the way these bylaws are done and written were really led by Gus Brown, and these have some basic protections in them in both the use table as well as the definitions to take that large leap forward. It's not probably where we all want to be eventually, but this takes a huge step forward. The first bylaw on 894, Mr. Chairman, is the use table, and I know you'll get to the other ones, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Obviously, Brian's here as well. I do want to state for the record, as I'm looking down at my computer, that it was a 6-1 vote, and the one lone dissent was Mr. Hunchard from the ZBA, and I think everybody up here will agree. Bruce is not voting no on this because he disagrees with the content of what's before us. Bruce voted no primarily because the ZBA has been doing ADUs for decades. They've approved all but one. One was an extreme example, and so his opposition is not due to anything to do with the substance of this, but just the fact that he doesn't believe that all this language is necessarily needed. I think as a staff, we also disagree with the chairman of the ZBA on that. That's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and we do understand where Chairman Hunchard is coming from. We really do. We discussed this at many times at the meetings, and so we would recommend to the council to forward all three of these to the planning board so that they can hold a public hearing and have a debate among citizens about what to recommend back to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I will
You're gonna call it
I will go to the EDC first, and I just want to remind everybody, the council as well as the public, that these three bylaws are referrals to the planning
Yep.
board. It goes back to the planning board, then it comes back to us, and we get 2 more bites at the apple, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
Just so that everybody's on board. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. I just wanted to add a few more things to what Jamie said. Why are we doing this? And because through our housing production plan, it's in there to define accessory dwelling units and to make it easier for people to actually know what the process is. Because the reason why we have these things in front of us is because there's no process written anywhere. So no one even knows that they can do it. They don't know what they have to do to create an accessory dwelling unit. It just doesn't exist anywhere. And I know what Jamie said about the chair of the ZBA, but, everyone does their job really well. But it's like, let's do this sustainably. Let's make it so that the next person who does it, and the next person after that, well, we're all gone. They still follow the same rules, and everyone is treated the same, and it's consistent. And that was our goal, at least my goal, through this process. So, and the Franklin for All recommendation recommended that we define ADUs, that, since we didn't have one as well. So that's why we did this. We talked about it for 3 times in the Franklin for All Steering Committee. After the second time, Gus and Amy, they did so much research, and they found the thing that they think would fit Franklin the best. We have moved these things forward a little bit. The definition, though, was approved by everyone. I think the fact that it can go into a to a 2-family dwelling, as Commissioner Brown said, so there's a 2-family, they have an attic or they have a basement, let's make it so that they can get in the 3rd one in there, so we have more housing for people. We also made it so that it not necessarily has to be a family member that lives there, and so that, but the owner of the property has to live in one or the other, the small one or the big one, either one, just so that there is some kind of control, right, about who lives there. But I can't pick my neighbor, but that's okay. But, and so, so we did have a lot of discussion about this. I think we, Councilor Frangillo brought up some amendments that were voted down. And we had a lot of discussion, but it wasn't as difficult as the inclusionary zoning discussion. So I think that was really good. I think it's probably because we've just spent so much time with each other that we were getting sick of each other. We all said, okay, we're just gonna do this. But actually, everyone, I think, at the end of the night, when we voted this forward, Councilor Jones was not there, so it was a 5-1 vote.
Oh, right.
We realized that this is a step, right? We've changed two things. We have the definition now. It was put into the accessory use regulation schedule, and so it sort of makes sense. Like, people can follow it now, and that was one of our goals. So I think it's another compromise, and we just have to keep working on it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're setting up a routine where she gets to say all the great things, and I get to remind us how it's still the good cop, bad cop routine.
Well, isn't that like, that's the way we are, anyway, isn't it?
I just wanted to call attention to one of those amendments, which failed 3-3 because we only had 6, and that was what we've done here is we've laid out, okay, here's the type of accessory dwelling unit that you're allowed to build. Here's how close you're allowed to build it to your neighbors. You've got to go through building code. And what we've said is, even after all of that, you still have to go to zoning board of appeals, even if you meet all of that. And what we heard from someone who's currently looking to put an accessory dwelling unit in is the amount of money that it takes to hire an architect to start to design these projects are, that's a lot of cost to still be going towards something that you don't know if it's going to get approved because it's based on the whims of a voting board and whether they deem it necessary. A whole bunch of what we're talking about when we say by right is saying, are there certain types of projects that we can just agree are good for the town, right? These are already restricted, right? It has to be basically within the footprint of what's already allowed in that area. If you want to add an addition, or you want to convert your basement, or you want to convert your attic, right? These aren't talking about a new structure. If you have to do that, great. That's something that needs a special permit or a variance. But at some point, we as a town have to say, there are certain projects that are just good for the town. They bring in new development, they add some affordable housing units to people. These are typically people looking for either young professionals like myself or for their aging like parents to be able to move in. I'd like to get to a point, I'm certainly open to hearing the amendment now before we pass it on to the planning board to see if we're willing to accept that, but at least know that what we're voting on here falls short of actually allowing these by right. And if you're worried about getting run over by accessory dwelling units, I will point out that I counted 21 communities that already allow them by right in Massachusetts. The entire state of California, Connecticut, and Vermont allow them by right if they're not getting run over by accessory dwelling units. Those that allow accessory dwelling units in their communities in the greater Boston area see an average of 2.5 accessory dwelling units per year. And housing choice best practices, which allow us to get money. It's what the state looks at to say, all right, has your town met these best practices? That's when we'll be able to give your money. One of the things that they count as a best practice is allowing accessory dwelling units by right. I would personally like to see us make that step now. If we're not feeling prepared to make that step now, I at least want to bring attention to the fact that this is better than where we are right now, but it's not going all the way to really starting to allow some of these units in town.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan.
I'd make that amendment at the appropriate time
Do it now.
Okay.
Add-
It's not the,
Okay.
It's not the right bylaw. It's the-
Okay.
it's not the right bylaw.
Right, got it.
So,
Um,
Councilor Jones, anything to add? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this is a question to the town administrator. I know when a homeowner, files a permit to do an improvement on their home, maybe it's the attic, maybe it's a deck, and then at some point, the permit process is signed off on and completed, it triggers the assessor's office to come out and reevaluate and possibly increase the value of the home. Does that same process happen, or will it happen with accessory dwelling units?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we would anticipate that it would. Right now, it's more of there's an informal process because people just go petition the ZBA for an ADU, and, they've done that in the past. And so what I've argued is, what I think is needed if this bylaw were to go through is, what we'd like to do is put out some public relation education materials, and just kind of giving people a one-pager on just exactly what to do. We're going to put an online application, hopefully on Viewpoint, so people can apply for them. They'll see it. They'll see the criteria, various things like that. And so we hope to get that process in line. If this bylaw were to go through, it still is going to take a couple months to go through the planning board and through us. And then it'll take the staff a little while to generate all that. So I would anticipate later in the summer, hopefully, if everything goes according to schedule, we can try to work with the planning staff downstairs, Brian and Gus and the admin team, to try to put that together. And I think to Councilor Hamlin's point a minute ago, I think she's right. ADUs have always been happening for decades, right? It just became a buzz term recently in the last few years because people need places to live. And I think one point that I did think Councilor Hamlin was going to speak to, and I think we've talked about offline, which is critical. Getting this going is really important, less for economics. This isn't about making money. I think the human element is people have been struggling not only to find housing affordably, but also the pandemic has forced home care situations with family members, people moving, they want to be closer together. And I think the benefit here in the large leap forward is really about giving people an opportunity to customize and to be flexible with their space at their property, to try to customize where the family might go, whether it's a mother, a father, home care, a child, or whatever, relative, friend. And to Councilman Hamlin's point, we're not restricting this to a blood relative. The definition of a family is up to 5 people can be your friends. It doesn't have, we're leaving that up to the individual, which is really, really important. And people are struggling. And so to Councilor Frangilla's point, your question, we would like to get that process in place. We can't really do that without some of these mechanisms. And also some of these protections in the definition, which is the bylaw right here, which is really around shared utilities. If you allow non-shared utilities and you allow splitting of utilities, or if you allow by right, people will take the by right as I can do whatever I want. And all of a sudden the garage gets split out into a separate unit, it starts getting rented out, a rock band goes in there and the neighbors go crazy, right? And so, unfortunately, the law of unforeseen circumstances heavily applies to this issue. You could have neighbors right next to each other that don't want to be in that. So really, this step forward is to ensure we've put the right protections and the right definitions in place, try it out for a few years or a year or two, whatever, and hopefully come back down the road and say, wow, this really worked out well, this didn't work out well, what are the other issues, and try to tweak those by rights that Councilor Frangilla is working towards. There is, and I think the building commissioner talked about it, neighborly relations is not always good. And neighbors oftentimes don't solve these problems on their own. They come to all of us to solve it for them. And so there is some law of unintended consequences with this. And every property is so unique that we're giving the homeowner the ability to make their argument before the ZBA. And like Bruce said, they've only denied one in 25 years. I don't think the hurdle's very big here. The cost is a factor. Councilor Frangillo is right. The homeowner is going to have to put up some money, but it also prevents those homeowners from doing more damage. And I hate to break the news to people. The truth is homeowners do have a tendency at times to do damage, and sometimes not consider their neighbors. And I think that for neighborly relations and peace of mind, we're here to create somewhat of a civil society. And there is a potential for incivility with something like this. And so we'd like to put that system into place, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. And so that's kind of the game plan. But I think the staff downstairs will make that all happen, just like you're saying before, and contact the assessors, and they'll go out in their usual due diligence.
And I 100% appreciate that people need a place to live, and that multi-generational solutions are back, right? Because they went away, and then, you know, I can remember growing up in a multi-family house myself in Medford, right? And that people lived with relatives and helped with childcare, and we got away from that as a society, and now I feel like we have to come up with some different solutions. But I do think it's important to note, because we have been talking about money, right? We have been talking about budget issues and creating, you know, some solutions, that adding an ADU to a piece of property should increase the value of that property, therefore increasing the assessment, therefore bringing in a little bit more tax revenue to the town. So I think for all of those reasons, it makes complete sense.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Mr. Chairman, I actually had a question on 23895, so I'll
Okay.
hold off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor DeLarco?
No, everything's been kind of said. I kind of agree with everyone. The zoning board, they still handle all like variances and all that stuff, right? So.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Special permits.
Yeah,
so
they
handle
do.
all special permits, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to refer bylaw amendment 23-894 to the planning board. And again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 23-895, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 8, Use Regulations, Schedule Part 7, Accessory Uses, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the motion, the bylaw amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-895, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code, Chapter 185, Attachment 8, Use of Regulations, Schedules, Part 7, Accessory Uses. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions and/or deletions to subsection 185, Attachment 8, Use Regulations, Schedule, Part 7, Accessory Dwellings. On 185 Attachment 8, Use Regulation Schedule Part 7, the changes are, there is an addition to the bottom of the table. It's A21, accessory dwelling residential units in all the various zones and districts in which they are allowed. There are no further notes amended to this, Mr. Chairman. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-895 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so this is the use table. I just, again, want to mention, all of this is putting Franklin in a very elite category right now of towns that are really struggling to get through these things. And even the use table, getting this in the use table is a huge, huge achievement. And it really does set us apart from a lot of other communities. As people can see, A21 down at the bottom, Board of Appeals across the board, with the exception of those very odd, like office district and business. We didn't put ADUs in there because they're offices, so they don't relate because they're commercial industrial. But the BA, for those that are wondering from home, is Board of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to note that what Jamie just said about how this, Salem gave up But we, you know, we didn't give up, and I think this is what we have, I'm gonna say it again, is like a compromise of everything. But this is one of the things that the town staff did. They listened to our conversation at the steering committee level, and then they said, okay, well, you know what, you guys are right. We're gonna put it in the accessory use table. And so they took it out of the residential use, and they put it into the accessory use schedule. And I think that just goes to show that when, you know, during this discussion, it was like everyone was working together. So that's what I just wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Is there any other questions or comments? Councilor Frangillo.
Just while they come up, I knew I had some data on this. So a study of ADUs in Greater Boston by the Pioneer Institute of Public Policy found that adding an ADU to your policy typically increases the value by as much as 25 to 34%.
Good.
Which is, again, a critical piece to why we're doing this. Just to correct the record, I like the soundbite of Salem failed and we didn't. I want to make it clear, Salem, their accessory dwelling unit proposal was to have tax incentives encouraging the building of accessory dwelling units and to remove the owner occupancy requirements. That piece failed. They did successfully pass accessory dwelling units by right. And so, yeah, I just want to make that clear. Yeah, that they were trying to go further because they recognized the importance of these, and that's the piece that they weren't quite able to get to. But they allow them by right and have not been run over by accessory dwelling units.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Jones.
Mr. Chairman, and the thing about Salem is that was so frustrating is that they were trying to get broom closets and cauldrons as part of their requirements for their accessory dwelling.
Don't even laugh
No
at
wonder.
that. How could you laugh at that?
Oh,
It's been a long night.
Yeah, it's been
that was
Okay.
I had to break things up a little.
Any other, Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. One thing's bothering me about this, and it comes under administration and enforcement, Brian, section 185-45. It says these accessory dwellings can be turned down for water consumption, sewer use, and water main capacity. I thought we couldn't use that for, like, if we didn't want apartments and all that. Please, someone answer that.
Brian.
As part of special permit criteria,
Yeah.
in general, you can't tell a person they can't use the water. But if you ask for a special permit, which is a special permit, it's not given, you'd have to meet certain criteria, which are listed in, I believe you're at 185.
185,
Yeah,
45.
45 is it? It's probably the last
Should be
page
there.
here, right? Yep, yeah, so those are the conditions that you're supposed to meet for a special permit through ZBA or planning board on the last page of this memo. I think that the most important thing is that special permits may be granted with such reasonable conditions, safeguards, or limitations on time or use as a special permit granting authority may deem necessary to serve the purpose of this chapter. So it's not, we can add on conditions and things of that nature when you're doing a special permit. If something's allowed by right, your hands are tied many times, and that's the reason for a special permit. There are a lot of pluses to doing things by right also, obviously. But by special permit, the town has more authority to keep things under control, make sure, say, no, you can't do that, you can do that, things of that nature. And under the findings A through G, water consumption and sewer use is one of the things that they have to look at in all special permits throughout town, not just ADUs. It's just a standard. So in other words, the use will not be excessive. All right, for an ADU, it's just adding a housing unit or a half a housing unit essentially to your use, so it's not going to be excessive rather. But it is one of the criteria that we need to meet. that would be probably a no-brainer in most cases.
Okay, lastly, so if it's by right, that doesn't, that goes away?
If it was a by right use, this does not, these are no longer, they're not issues
Okay.
that we actually look at. We do look at certain things. It's site plan review, you're looking at the circulation, safety issues, things of that nature. If you're looking at a special permit, these are the criteria that the town has established that you would look at to allow for a special permit. So, it's pretty straightforward, actually. I mean, we do have a lot of special permits for a lot of different reasons, and we provide, and the town zoning code allows many things by right for a lot of reasons. It really depends on the issues. So you're deciding tonight or through this process, then ADU will be allowed in certain zoning districts by special permit. If you wanted it by right, then you would have to change the regulations, but it is by special permit, so these criteria do apply to all this.
Okay, thank you. And I just, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Councilor Frangillo, I would support your amendment if you make it. Thank you.
I would too.
Anybody else? Attorney Sorrell.
I want to kind of speak to the building commissioners in his absence, put words in his mouth. So the special permit is a conservative approach. It gives the town some authority. I've been doing this 30, almost 40 years. Unfortunately, the road isn't necessarily, it may be paved with best intentions, but what actually gets constructed, not so much. And unfortunately, as Jamie alluded to earlier, neighbor relations aren't always ideal.
Yeah.
You've got all kinds, again, if you're talking a virgin territory, it'd be one thing, but you've got houses in all kinds of proximities to each other, and invariably somebody comes up with putting something in the worst place for the neighbor because it works for them, or they just totally disregard. And then what you have to do when it happens, and this is where Gus is on the front line and I'm there with him, is to say, we're sorry, it's a private property matter, there's nothing the town can do about it. So this gives some control, allows some protections, and again, as it goes into operation, if it turns out that it's not as much needed, or there are areas where it's not needed, then you can always come back and amend to remove the requirement or lessen the requirement.
Thank you, Attorney Sorrell. Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. We are putting regulations in as to where it can be located. If you want to locate it outside of those spaces, by the way, that's what we're voting on next, and we're saying that it can be located within what's already allowed within that area. And so if you want to go outside of that, then you'll still need a variance and need to go to Zoning Board of Appeals to make your case as to why you should be allowed to build that outside of where it is. What we're saying is those that we deem are already in place that we all agree on, that is something that we have to decide whether we can just allow them to move forward. And I'll remind you, all of California, all of Vermont, all of Connecticut allow these.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to
Make the amendment to have it by right.
A little bit more than that.
Okay.
So it's,
Remove the Board
it's
of
like
Appeal.
it's 8 districts.
Yeah.
So I would argue, through you, Mr. Chairman, if the council wants to move these across the board, I would request that the council table this until we can get the building commissioner here to at least have a discussion with him before you do that. I'm saying that out of my professional experience. And I know, look, I understand there's some passionate feelings about this. We can look at Pioneer Institute policy studies. We can talk about California, which isn't exactly a model I'm like chalking up as a good situation. Vermont does not have neighbors. If people want to make them by right, it's obviously within the council's jurisdiction. I think it's probably wise to allow the planning board to have a public hearing before we give to them a opportunity where both planning board members that were on the EDC were pretty firm in their position that this was a Board of Appeals and we're taking a big step forward. We're not taking the big leap. I would also argue that if people were looking for more by right, we had this discussion, by right's probably more applicable in the more rural districts. I think people are trying to cram ADUs in downtown. That's exactly where you're gonna have the neighbor battles. That is exactly where all of you are gonna hear of the hatred and the institution and the vitriol is right downtown. Yes, there's an attic. Most likely, they're converted the attic to an ADU without any enforcement, without anybody knowing. Okay, so we're in a league here where there are a lot of probably ADUs out there that we don't know about. There's a lot of basements that have been converted that we don't know about. You're protecting the homeowner from getting themselves into a lot of trouble and costing them tens of thousands of dollars. If people find out there's an illegal ADU somewhere, all of a sudden we're into a whole different league. We're into a whole ball of wax. This is not a scare tactic. And I'm sorry, Councilor Frangillo, with all due respect, there are a lot of people, including Mark and myself and Brian and Gus, who have been working on this stuff for well over a combined 100 years on these things. There's a lot of experience that we have in these matters. We've seen them before. We don't say this lightly. In my heart, I would love to make these by right. I've talked to Councilor Hamlin about these. I would love to have greater flexibility, work within the criteria. The reality and the truth is that people will make this an unforeseen circumstance. You will unquestionably hear about it, and there will be some very toxic, if not litigious situations if this is not carefully done. I think the ideology is, let's be laissez-faire. Fair enough. Private property rights for everybody. People really, 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 truly need to be very, very careful about what they're doing on these things. If you have a 15-acre parcel, shove a tiny home out there, yeah, that's probably something maybe more by right. I understand that.
Yeah, right.
But that's not what many people are talking about. They want them downtown. They want a fourth or fifth unit or something, or a detached garage or something of that sort. So, if, you know, there's a couple options here. Certainly the council could refer it to the planning board and get the bite at the apple later on. Or I would ask if folks are really serious about this, and I understand why, that maybe we wait until the building commissioner can attend the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and that was going to be my comment. A lot of work has gone into this. I hate to see us stall this, even for a brief period of time. But I do feel that the EDC brought forward these three zoning bylaw amendments, at which the building commissioner was there and supported these as they've been brought forward. Rather than delay or table, my own feeling would be, let's move these forward to the planning board as is, get some more opinions, and,
No.
excuse me, I have the floor. And by doing that, when it comes back to us, we put the amendment on in first reading. I'm not saying that I wouldn't support the amendment, but I'd like to see the process work out. And the process is that we refer to the planning board. We had the EDC, and I went to many of the meetings, and I sat through them. And again, that's how I feel about it. But whatever the will of the council is, we have a motion and a second on the floor to move zoning bylaw amendment 23-895. Is there any, to the planning board? Is there any discussion or, go ahead. Councilor
With
Frangillo.
all due respect to the process, and I'm really not trying to be difficult, but I know that this is going to be maybe the last time in a few years that we're really going to want to take a full stab at our accessory dwelling unit bylaw, so I want to make sure that we get it right.
Right. As do I.
I apologize for if it feels as though we're adding difficulty. It's my understanding that the process is we get to move forward as a council the product that we agree upon, and then the planning board gets to respond to that product, and then we get 2 full hearings on it. And so it doesn't seem like it hurts us at all. In fact, it seems better for the process, for us, if we feel as though there's a better product than the current product, to push that forward to the planning board, let them respond. If they come back and say, hey, here are the reasons why you shouldn't allow, if we agree that it should be by right, we send it to them. They say, here are the reasons it shouldn't be by right, and then we get 2 hearings to decide whether we want to take their recommendation on it. To me, that's how the process works. To put something forward and then wait until after they talk on it to then add something after it's already gone past them feels like not how the process is.
That's, well, we can agree to disagree.
Okay.
And I disagree because, in fact, the process, part of the process is have the planning board review. And the EDC recommended to the council. And yes, if we want to change it now, we absolutely can, if the votes are there. If we want to table it now, to Jamie's point, and wait for the building commissioner, we can absolutely do that as well. All I was saying was, what's before us, the building commissioner has supported. So if we moved it to the planning board that way, then that discussion and that amendment, I'm sure, because there was one of the planning board members that supported that amendment would be, or that discussion would be had at the planning board, and we would not only have the information from EDC, but we'd have the information from the planning board to make what I think is an intelligent decision when you get all of the facts from all of the people. Because I assure you, the planning board knows a little more than I know, sitting here, certainly, and I'd like to, and have dealt with it for a long time in many situations. So it's the will of the council, so if I'm open to whatever the council wants to do. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so I see 2 of the EDC members want to do the motion. Can the other 2 speak to what they would like us to do?
Sure, through the chair?
Through the chair, please. I'm just
waiting to make a vote on the referral.
So you have no comment, okay.
I voted for Kobe's amendment in that meeting. And I would really like to make an amendment, but not for all of the zones. So I'm not really sure like how we would do that. It's not the amendment that Kobe brought forward before. It's a different one. So
It appears like maybe tabling this is the right decision.
I still have the floor, probably.
No, because you gave it up to go to Councilor Hamblin.
right. So
Oh, all right, I have to.
Well,
I don't know what the
through you, Mr.
Jamie.
Chairman,
What that means.
procedurally, so there's 2 options.
yeah. Thank you.
There's 2 options, so
I don't care.
Councilor Hamlin can make an amendment to the amendment. We know this because we
Right.
just went through it at the EDC like 10 times.
Right.
And I do think the original amendment, through you, Mr. the original amendment needs to be a little bit more specific. I think the assumption is that you want to do by right across all districts. Does that also include MBI, office, industrial, business? So I think the reason why I stopped Councilor Sheridan a moment ago was just to say it has to be like, is it all districts? The amendment has to be a little more specific.
Right.
The other thing that could happen is the amendment could get withdrawn, and Councilor Sheridan, Councilor Frangillo, Councilor Hammond, or somebody else could make an amendment to actually specific districts, which even if it was all, it should probably be specified, because when you say all, you then mean downtown, commercial, industrial, where those are no's, So I think unfortunately, the onion has to get peeled back a little more here to
Okay.
find out exactly what the amendment is. I understand the philosophical thing is everywhere, but that
Right.
is not gonna work in an industrial or business zone. So I think,
So I withdraw.
Understood.
and it's a
Melanie, are
second.
you all set with your response to Counselor Chandler? Because it's Counselor Chandler's floor that turned it to you.
I am finished, Counselor Chandler,
Okay,
you have the floor, back, is that?
comes
the
back to
chair.
me.
Okay, sorry.
Now, Counselor Chandler, you
Mr. Chairman, I just end with, I just feel that people have a right, that's all. This is
Yeah,
why,
understood.
I just think, you know, the planning board tells everyone, they beat everyone down. I think people have a right, and that's the only
Yeah.
reason I want to vote that way. Thank
And
you.
I totally understand. And as I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I disagree with the amendment. It's just
The process.
the
I know.
process. And I'm just trying to,
Right.
trying to make it flow the best we
So
can.
I'm sorry.
One last, Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to respond to Counselor Chandler's question real quick. Just to remind about the process, the planning board is only considering the framework of the bylaw. They have no role in actually approving, litigating, discussing, or approving any of these. So I just want to make sure for the public at home, the clarification is, you know, the perception is they do beat people down, and I understand where Counselor Chandler is coming from, and people get frustrated with the planning board. The planning board, I think, based on the votes and the conversation at the EDC, my educated guess is that they're going to respond to this in some sort of affirmative way based on what they said at those meetings, both Greg Rondeau and Beth Whirling. So the planning board, just so the public at home, has no role in approving any of these, so they are not going to beat people down. The ZBA has, again, approved all of them but one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so,
We're out.
well, we have a motion
The-
and a second on
He
the
withdrew it.
floor. And Brian, you're all set?
Yeah, withdrew.
Oh, you withdrew it.
You would-
The
Okay.
second has to agree to withdraw.
There wasn't a second.
There wasn't a
There was
second.
no second?
No
Yeah,
second.
no second.
I
Okay.
would like to make an amendment.
Motion.
I would like to make a motion to amend the table for rural residential 1, 2, 4, and all those Rs, to make the accessory dwelling units by right in that one zone, and to see what the planning board has to say about it. Because we didn't get to separate all the zones at that meeting, and I really want to know what they think about the possibility for that to be by right.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Yeah. Discussion on that amendment. Council Frangillo.
I would just add to a few things that have been said. This is not a matter of, it's very easy to think that this is above your ability to comprehend because it's a matter of building. It's really not. It's a matter of value and what we want to allow people to do with their property. One of the things that you'll find from planning board and from your zoning board is that they do enjoy the ability to retain that control, to have that long list of reasons to say, well, it doesn't fit with the neighborhood character, or it doesn't, or yeah, it's too much water, and they like that ability to retain that, and as a way of controlling projects. And when that happens at a mass scale, we end up getting fewer projects, both coming forward and being approved, because that's a risk for anyone to come forward to, turn that over to people, right? So this is a matter of values. It's not something, the building commissioner is going to approve the building codes, of the space, right? This is a matter of whether we want to allow people to do what they want with the property, which in this case is now allowing rural residential, which is your super big, not near neighbors, to allow them to build something that their, parents can move into when they're older. So I just don't be intimidated by the process. You have all the information you need to decide on these values.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Councilor Jones.
Just clarification, I would like to request Counselor to clarify the districts within the regulation schedule to which you had referred, just so I can note them here.
It is the first section, the first box in the use table. So it's RR1, RR2, RR4, RR6.
Okay. So just that one box is by...
Just that one box.
By right.
Yes,
And the rest,
right.
you stated there.
Because I think when we get to smaller and smaller lots, that's when we get those, the potential issues for our building commissioner. And I think that I'm not too sure, it's a great thing to allow those things by right in the smaller, more dense areas.
Okay, thank you. Any other? I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second. You want to read it
Yes.
so that everybody understands what
Absolutely.
the amendment is?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify zoning bylaw amendment 23895, zoning bylaw amendment to Franklin Town Code, Chapter 185, Chapter 8, Use Regulation Schedule, Part 7, for accessory uses. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin hereby amended following additions and deletions to subsection 185 Amendment 8, Use Regulation Schedule, Part 7, accessory dwellings, with an amendment to reflect that accessory uses line A21, accessory use dwelling residential units, that rural residential 1, rural residential 2, residential 4, residential 2, I forget what that is, RV?
1, 2, 6, 7.
6 and 7, thank you. Be by right, in that the remaining districts up to DC are Board of Appeal, that's Board of Appeals, right?
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's BIL, L1, O, and MBI be not included. That's the change.
Okay. Everybody understand the amendment? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
No.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Motion carries. So now, the vote will come on the zoning bylaw amendment 23-895 as amended.
To the
So,
planning board.
to the referral to the planning board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
2 noes.
Okay. It's 2.
2.
Motion carries. Okay, zoning bylaw amendment 23-896, a zoning bylaw to amend Chapter 185, Section 19 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, accessory dwelling unit setbacks, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 23-896. Change to subsection 185-19, accessory dwelling and structures, accessory dwelling unit setbacks. Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification to the administration. There's typos in both bylaws, just on the word accessory, how it's spelled. That's all. Sorry. Zoning bylaw amendment to amend, it's a typo, I'm just driving me crazy. Zoning bylaw amendment, Chapter 185, Section 19 of the Code of Town of Franklin. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended at Section 185-19 accessory dwellings and structures by adding the following text. Subsection 185-19 accessory buildings and structures. A purpose. The purpose of this bylaw is to provide for the reasonable regulation and control of accessory buildings and structures within the town of Franklin in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its residents without unduly restricting the conduct of lawful enterprise. B, setback requirements and height restrictions. The following setbacks shall comply to all accessory buildings and structures unless otherwise regulated in other sections of Chapter 185. No accessory building or structure shall be located within a required yard setback lots having frontage on any on any street will maintain the front yard setback from all street frontage. 2, no accessory building or structure shall be located in any side yard area near the side lot line than 10 feet in any zoning district. No accessory building or structure shall be located in a rear yard nearer to the rear lot line than 10 feet. No accessory building or structure shall be less than the distance equal to the common building height to common grade to any rear or rear side lot line. No accessory buildings or structures of any size shall be closer than 10 feet to any building, principal building or other accessory building or structure. And 6, this is new, accessory dwelling units within the detached building shall be located no closer to the rear side lot lines that's stated in subsection 185.19.b, 1 through 5, above or stated in subsection 185 attachment 9 schedule of lot area frontage, yardage, height requirements, whichever is greater. This foregoing bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 23-896 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is the final one for the referral. If folks have any questions on any of the requirements, Brian can certainly step up and answer them.
Understood. Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 23-896 to the planning board. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town administrators report.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so I know everybody's been talking about budget stuff. So the budget will be out Friday, is my hope. That was the target date, so everybody will get a copy of the town administrator's proposed budget for FY '24. As I've emailed many folks and put out some PR, the Finance Committee dates, just so folks are clear, are going to be May 8th, May 10th, and May 11th. May 8th will be general government. May 10th will be all schools. And May 11th will be all DPW and public safety. So traditionally, this has gone very well. In the past, we used to have 4 nights, and the FinCom's been great about cutting it down. Each meeting usually takes a couple hours. But if folks are interested in the overview, they're interested in other departments like health and building commissioner and planning, library, rec, culture, that'll all be on the first night. The schools will be there on the second night. We're inviting Tri-County and Norfolk Aggie as well. And May 11th will be the final recommendations, public safety, regional dispatch, and public works. And also a reminder to those folks watching at home, May 24th and 25th will be the budget hearings here at the council. It's already almost May.
Already.
Spring has sprung, summer is around the corner. Didn't feel like we had winter.
It's going to be 80 degrees.
The council's favorite month of the year.
Yeah, and just last quick comment, I just want to thank all of you for your kind comments to Kathy and the Board of Health staff. It's really exciting to see after Kathy got here, she joined our team a few months before COVID.
Yeah.
And it's really great when we interviewed her. This was what she told us she was going to do, and obviously for 2.5 years got a little sidetracked, and I just appreciate everybody's support for them, and obviously they've been doing a great job down at the senior center, and I hope everybody's happy with the additional services that the Board of Health is providing. So thank you very much. And also, that was a council goal for the year, so check. Another one off the list. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, moving on. Future agenda items. Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing this time.
Councilor Frangillo.
Two. One is Energize Franklin. I'd really like for us to talk about the ability to support that project. We asked them to go out and get started on a website that organizes all the sustainability opportunities. They did that. A whole bunch of volunteers did that themselves. They raised money. There are communities similar to our size that put a substantial amount toward sustainability initiatives. We put very little. They're asking for $1,000, less than $1,000 annually to keep the website going. I think it's really a great opportunity for us to get started and sort of help prop up a community initiative. So I'd like to see that at least discussed. And the other thing is, it got brought up last time, the LGBTQ flag for Pride Month. I'm told that we don't need a bylaw or anything in writing. I just hope that I'm not disappointed come June. Let us give you what you need in order to do that. And if you really don't need anything, then I can't wait to see the flag waving brightly in the June sun. That's it from me.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to support Councilor Frangillo's 2 points of let's at least look at supporting Energize Franklin in a future discussion, and let's do everything we can to support our LGBT folks here in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones.
Sir?
Councilor DeLarco. Okay, we'll move on to councilor comments. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a long night, but certainly been an educational one. So, thank you to everybody for the great questions and the feedback into the presentations. It's been a couple of weeks now, and a few of you were away, but Franklin went through a pretty horrific incident at the high school, which luckily turned out to be a hoax, with the active shooter call. And I just want to thank all of our first responders, all of our educators, all of our town staff that immediately jumped into action and dealt with that in the appropriate way very, very quickly. There was a press release that went out. Parents were communicated to. It was incredibly scary as a dad to get notified, that there was something like this even happening, and that something that we see on the news could happen here in Franklin. It's a very scary sign of the times, but I was proud of our town and how it responded, and I do think that all of those people just deserve our praise and our gratitude. And hopefully there's learnings from that will, help make sure that that never really becomes a reality. But thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on the Police Building Committee. We have a good crew. Thank you. Speaking of them, through the Capital Committee, thank you. My mind's wandering.
okay.
There. I saw the police finally got their new pickup truck, which is great.
Yeah, I saw that
'cause
picture.
it can be dual use for everything, which we're getting our money's worth out of that. That's great. And lastly, I just want to thank the community, because their engagement this week has been second to none. I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of responses, and I think that's great. Please email us. Tell us what you're thinking, because sometimes we just hear a lot of the bad stuff and not any of the good stuff. So, thank you to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Sheridan.
So hopefully everybody enjoys the nice weather now. Go for some hikes in Delcott, something like that.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah. There's still 2 surveys open to the public, so if you haven't taken them, you have your open space and rec survey. That deadline was extended, and you also have your arts and culture survey. So if you haven't filled those out, please do that. This Saturday, people are walking the Ladybug Trail. You can pick up a map at Escape into Fiction or the Historical Museum and walk the Ladybug Trail. That should be a blast. And then Earth Day. Town does a fantastic job. The rec department does such a good job getting all our students and families involved in cleaning up the town on Earth Day. That's next Saturday, 4/22. And then a small plug for our favorite local journalist. He's hosting a poetry day at the library on that Sunday, 4/23. Whoa, following Sunday. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Following Saturday. My bad. Got all mixed up. 4/29. Put it on your calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to remind people, if you're really interested in the budget, to tune into those FinCom meetings. They go through line item. You can ask any question you want. That's the start. They do all the real hard work. And so you should be following their meetings. Also, I'll just say the Ladybug Art and History Trail again this Saturday. I want to send a shout out to Joe Halligan. He has become the Ladybug Doctor for all the ladybugs out there that got, one of its heads got crashed in, and so he fixed it, and he's helping us keep those ladybugs spick and span. Office hours are next Thursday, I think, right, Jamie? Do we have office hours?
8:30 at the senior center.
8:30 at the senior center. Not only is the Earth Day on the 22nd, but there's a Delcarte Day on the 23rd. And so there's a lot of things to do there as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor 000.
000. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, on the beautiful weather, you can always take a walk down the Snet Trail, which has some new surface area around it.
Oh, it's
right?
beautiful,
Right,
yeah.
Councilor Frangillo? They got that area all cleaned up and it's looking great.
It is awesome.
Great place to go walking. To the point that was brought up about the police, and yes, the police did such a tremendous job. I'm also very pleased to read that they busted people trying to steal catalytic converters at Jones parking lot at Dean College up the street off on School Street. Thank you. Ironically, one of the individuals happens to be from Ohio. It's like, really? You're coming all the way out here to steal catalytic converters with the rental car and a false plate. Great work by our police department and everyone. It's tremendous. Again, to Councilor Chandler's point, we do read your emails. We will be reading your letters. We will be having some hearty discussion on many of the subjects that are coming up in regards to the budget, as well as many different budget items. We do listen, we do hear you, and we will get through this together as a community. I will note for everybody that the Boston Bruins last night broke another record, and this is where I think the Boston Bruins can really teach us all a lesson, is that tenacity pays off. You know, if you work together as a team and you work really hard, you can become the winningest team in hockey history with 133 points, 64 wins, breaking all the records, and they have one game left, so they can even add a little icing on their cake. So teamwork pays off, and that is absolute proof of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to send condolences out to Zeke Vignon, to the Vignon family. Zeke has passed away last week at 95. He passed away in the same house he was born 95 years later. Great community person, great leader. And actually, my wife called me the next day and said, "Did you know that Zeke Vignon is getting $100 a month from the town of Franklin?" I said, "No, he's a lawyer, has his own law firm over in Rentham." He was the recreational director in the 50s and early 60s, and when he was going through law school. So I was like, I had no idea. But, yeah, so condolences to him. He was a great guy. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I just want to bring up that the Save Coalition had a great fundraiser tonight, which I thought the meeting was going to go quick and we were going to be able to get there. But I hope my fellow board of directors and everybody else, the lieutenant governor was there, and Slater from the Patriots were there to speak, and I bet you they had a good time. So I hope they raised a lot of money. We can use it. So that's it.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Just one quick thing, Tuesday night, next Tuesday night is the Dean Neighborhood Alliance.
Yeah.
And again, Dean has reached out over the last year and trying to build some community relationships, and I think it's important. I know it started out, it was all about parking, but it has grown. And to see the things that are available to the community within the college, to listen to the things within the community that the college has access to. So I just reach out to the community and say, please, come to these meetings. They're open to everyone. And learn a little bit about the college and maybe a little bit about your community and how we can work together to do some bonding that we haven't been able to do in the past.
We all need a big hug.
And again, thank you to the Board of Health and the regional group that was here this evening, because I think it's there's a lot of information out there. They do a great job. Kathleen's done a great job. And again, I always thank them for the COVID, because I think it was just mind-boggling what they were able to do. And I know it was a long meeting, and I know at times there was a little.
Just tell them the time for the meeting at the Dean and
Oh.
in the room, just so
Oh, yeah.
people know.
Yeah, very good. It's 6 o'clock at the community center, or the Paula Rooney Community Center, I think it's called.
The Campanella Boardroom.
The boardroom.
Yeah,
Right inside.
And I forgot to mention, my son got accepted to Dean College.
it's a wonderful thing. And there are also the educational pieces that are available to the community, that I'm sure a lot of the community does not know about, so.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Thank you for that. And again, as a lot of people saw, I know there are times we don't always agree with each other, but we're all here speaking for the community, looking to make Franklin a better community as we move forward. So with that, I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?